Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Comrade64. How you guys are doing today? And I'm back with another video. And so for today's video, this video is kind of going to be somewhat of a serious topic. You know, this video I'm going to delve into some serious things and such. So I might get into stuff uh that probably might make I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to make people feel uncomfortable or anything, but this video is kind of more of a message to everyone out there. And this message is let's try to have respect for women, you know, females, but not just women, also people in general. Because, I guess particularly mostly for women, because for many different reasons. Now, I know some of you guys know, but apparently, Emiru, this is probably old news by now, but Emiru, for those of you who don't know, she's a very popular Twitch streamer, and she has a YouTube channel as well. So she's very popular on the internet. She's basically an internet celebrity in a way. I did put her in one in my Knuckles rates internet celebrities video, so you can check that out. You know, Emiru, she's very popular. So apparently, what happened was a couple months ago back at TwitchCon. Apparently, she was assaulted because some guy basically walked up to her uh, at the convention and pretty much just kissed her, and she screamed, and like one of the securities like pushed him off, and it was actually caught on video. You know, so apparently that kind of event kind of probably kind of shook her up, and I just seen that like I felt really bad for her and Emeru. I know you're probably not watching this, but you are. I'm deeply sorry for what happened to you, and you didn't deserve to go through that. In all honesty, no one deserves to go through that. Honestly, you know what happened right there was not only assault but also sexual assault, and that's something that should never happen at all. Period. That guy, and apparently that guy was allowed to continue to walk around the convention. I don't think he was detained or anything, but all I'm gonna say is that that guy, he's a scumbag and he deserves whatever punishment or get like some kind of comeuppance or something, or he should be arrested. Honestly, because what he did honestly was unacceptable. Honestly, you know, and that's just the thing. It just kind of feels like that. There are a lot of guys out there or people out there that don't seem to have respect for other people. Respecting their space. It's like it's just that guys. Sometimes we need to learn to respect other people and give them their space. you know, like don't touch them or do anything like touch them inappropriate or do something that might make them feel uncomfortable. If you want to be friendly towards them, sure, yeah, be friendly towards them, but always remember the number one rule. Always remember to just respect their space and give them their space. That's what we got to remember to do. You know, we can't just make people feel uncomfortable. People need their space. By making people feel uncomfortable, we are basically going to just drive them away and such. And like women, we need. I think women need to be respected. I mean, sure, not just women, but also men as well, people in general. Because apparently, you know, apparently, women has actually. There are some women out there who actually came out and said that they've been sexually assaulted and all that stuff. Now, sure, there are there are some incidents in some cases where some women have actually come out and lied. Actually, but for the most part, it seems like it seems to be happening to them a lot. Like for example, the whole James Franco situation. The whole thing with that, where a lot of females actually come on and said that James Franco made him feel uncomfortable, and he actually made him do all these sexual things. And of course, let's not forget the whole Harvey Weinstein situation with that right there. And apparently, there have been others. So, you know, it feels like that woman doesn't seem to be respected when it comes to like personal space and such because sometimes people, not everyone, I'm not saying everyone, but this seems like there's some people out there would just often try to touch them, like touch them in like in some of their inappropriate body parts and stuff like that, and make them feel that basically makes them feel very uncomfortable and stuff like that. Because I'll be honest, here's the thing: I understand that some guys out there are horny for women. Don't get me wrong. And to be honest, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't blame you. I'm kind of like that. I'm in that same camp as well. I'm horny for women too. But we need to understand that we can't just do stuff to make them feel uncomfortable. We can't just like touch them anywhere. I know some people understand that. But there are some out there that probably don't understand that. And this video is for you guys. Just let's just try to have respect for women. Respect for females. We can't just touch them, make them feel uncomfortable, like or like like walk up to them and like kiss them, or maybe or touch them in general. Well, if you want to touch them, well, if they give you consent, sure. Like let's say if you want to put your arm around them, like not like she's your girlfriend or anything, but like you guys are pals, like best buds, best friends, stuff like that. Sure. Well, why don't you just ask her first? Ask her first. But if she doesn't like that, then we gotta respect that. You know, women need respect. You know, and sure, so do men. Now men kind of get sexual assaulted too, even though we see mostly the woman. It's mostly the woman. I don't know if it's they both genders get sexually assaulted equally. Honestly, or is this mostly the woman? Well, we do hear more on the woman's side than the men's side. Honestly, I mean, the men. I guess it's not always noticeable. That's the thing. I mean, sure, there are some men that have been sexually assaulted, like that guy who was sexually assaulted by Nina Lynn and that Zoe chick. I forgot her name, her last name, Zoe. So yeah, there are some cases where men get sexually assaulted too. But and also like I guess even the same general sexual assault people. Like there are some women that will probably sexual assault women, or some men that will sexual assault men. You know, it kind of guess it kind of goes both ways. It works, some goes both ways sometimes. But the thing is, we shouldn't really sexual assault anyone. Even if it's a person who you find very attractive, you like that person a lot, but just don't do anything that's going to make them feel uncomfortable and like turn them away and like turn them off. You know, you know, you can be friendly if you like that person. Well, sure, try to ask that person out on a date or something and see if they're interested. And if they're not, then well, I guess you can keep it moving. But you can still possibly be friends with that person because apparently, on the news there have been some guys, who've been in love with certain girls, sort of women, and apparently those women actually end up rejecting them, and apparently those guys they didn't take that rejection very well, and they end up doing some horrible things. Like this one guy, apparently he had he had a he had a thing for this girl he was close with. He asked her out on a date, but she unfortunately rejected him. She said politely, she said she was not into being in a relationship. And the guy, he pretty much got all angry about it and he took it the wrong way and he basically ended up killing her, basically. And that was kind of sad because that guy, he basically not only, ruined his life, basically, and is going to spend the rest of his life in prison where he's basically never going to get laid ever. But also, he brought pain and suffering to the girl's family, the woman's. I think she was in her 20s. The woman's family, her family and friends, and people who knew her. And now they had to live the rest of life knowing they're not going to see their daughter, their best friend, ever again. And that guy, he's to blame basically. And now he's going to be sitting in jail for the rest of his life, you know. But you know what he could have done is that if he couldn't be with that girl, well, he could have gone and go with another girl, you know. And that's also another thing, we kind of do need to accept rejection sometimes. Rejection is a part of life. Rejection sucks and it kind of hurts, but once you accept it and you move past it, you'll be a better person. You'll be fine with it. And be like, well, she's not into me. That's fine. I could probably go find some other chick. Or if it somewhat happens again, well, keep trying. You'll probably find a chick out there who's going to be into you. You just got to keep trying and, never give up. You know, there's always someone out there for everyone. Now, I'll be honest. There have been a lot of chicks that I used to have a thing for, but apparently some of them were actually real to have boyfriends, basically. But you know what I did? I pretty much respected and I kind of moved on. I respected their relationship, and I actually told some of these girls that and some of their boyfriends that they're a lucky guy to have her. And tell some of these girls that they tell their boyfriends that they're lucky guys to have them. You know, it's kind of be nice to respect people's relationship and not try to get with someone who's already in a relationship with someone. That's kind of like the whole thing, like with Marvel, the whole love triangle between Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Wolverine. In a way, Wolverine is kind of the one in the wrong in the whole thing because Jean and Scott were pretty much already together, and I think he should have just at least like accepted that and just move on. If Scott and Jean were to break up and go their separate ways, sure, fine. I guess Logan can try to like hit on Jean and be with her if he wants to. Like, let's say Cyclops, like he dumps Jean Grey and goes with someone else, like maybe Emma Frost. That's another love triangle right there between Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Emma Frost. Then, like if Scott wants to go with Emma Frost, then sure, I guess Logan can go see Jean if Jean's interested. But who knows? Jean probably still might not be interested in him. But and Wolverine, he can probably go find someone else, like maybe Storm, because I think he and Storm were in a relationship in the comics. I think, and I think in the anime series, I don't know. Oh, like if my memory corrects me. But yeah, sometimes we gotta respect certain people in their relationships, and like not try to get in between. You know, to all those guys, like don't try to get in between a guy and his girlfriend, and the same goes for those girls. Don't try to get in between a girl and her boyfriend, because doing that you're just gonna cause problems. You know, yeah, you don't want to be involved in no love triangle. Personally, I'll be honest. Personally, I don't want to be involved in no love triangle, honestly. But yeah, we gotta learn to respect people's space and stuff like that. And back on the whole woman thing, no one should be no woman should be sexually assaulted at all, or assaulted in general, or on top of that, even harassed, because there have been women who have been harassed, and even men. And we need to understand that harassment is unacceptable, and no one should be harassed at all, because harassment is a crime and something that no one should be doing. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Now, I'm gonna let you guys know something. I'm gonna go to a little history with me and harassment. Apparently, I have no idea what harassment was back in the day, but I end up doing it not knowing that I was harassing someone. So here's the thing. Back in high school, there was this girl that I had a thing for. She was a Latina girl, when I was in high school. Apparently, I had a thing for her, and apparently, I kind of did some things that made her feel uncomfortable, and I ended up touching her inappropriately. I kind of I just kind of I touched her. I kind of slapped her behind and two times, but keep in mind this was years ago when I was a teenager in high school, and eventually she got fed up with me and she wanted nothing to do with me, and apparently I kept doing some things that were making her feel uncomfortable, and apparently the sad part is I was actually stalking her, but I was doing all these things and I didn't know that what I was doing was wrong. I didn't know it was harassment. I didn't know it was stalking. I didn't know. And also that's another thing, we should never stalk anyone, so yeah, and that whole school situation, it got so bad that almost I think the whole school knew about it. Everybody knew about it. My family members knew about it, her family members knew about it. people that we knew, people that I knew, staff members and staff members that she knew that, my friends, her friends, everybody in the school pretty much almost knew about it, even some of our family members. And it got to a point bad to the point where I ended up getting transferred to a new school. I was kind of mad at first, but then I realized that I was the one in the wrong. And honestly, I do kind of feel bad for what I did back in high school because that's one of the moments, the times where I wasn't proud of myself because I did some things. I was obsessed with this girl, and it got so bad to the point where I ended up getting kicked out of my old high school and transferred to a new high school. You know, so but that did kind of taught me a lesson that that I shouldn't be harassing anyone. Now, again, I didn't know what I was doing was harassment. I didn't know what I was doing was stalking, because to be honest, I didn't know what harassment and stalking meant back at the time. Keep in mind, I was a young kid at this time. I was young. I think it was like my fourth or yeah, my fourth year in high school. You know, because I stayed in high school when I was in uh until I turned 22. You know, so I just do kind of feel bad for what I did. And I remember there was a school dance and I was harassing her. I was trying to get her to dance with me. She was telling me no, and some of her friends and such. But so yeah, not one of my fondest memories, honestly. Part of me does wish things were probably different, but it is what it is. It happened. Oh well. And to be honest, now I'm gonna let you guys know something. I did get into some recent trouble involving a female librarian, but I'm not gonna go too much in details. But I'm gonna let you guys know that apparently it was kind of just a misunderstanding. You know, this female librarian, I knew her since 2022. She and I were really close. She we used to sometimes give me a ride home or walk home with me and stuff like that. And she also kind of gave me her phone number, and we were really close. But apparently, I guess over time, she kind of got annoyed by me, and she felt like I was stalking her or harassing her. Like, what? Sometimes she would like go to a different branch, but the thing is, I just end up running to her sometimes. I go to different branches in the library sometime. And apparently, she got the impression I was stalking her when it kind of wasn't really the case. So, and apparently that's kind of some recent trouble I had. I guess another female, you know. I mean, so, and the point is, guys, just to say that, we need to try to just have respect for women, respect our space. And sure, maybe sometimes women could probably be lying and saying, like, oh, this guy sexually assaulted me, he's harassing me, he's stalking me, and stuff like that. But, guys, sometimes we can like fight back and try to prove we're innocent, or maybe sometimes there are times where it's just a huge misunderstanding you know and we can't let our obsession over girls like take over us you know and remember, like, there was this Power Rangers cosplayer, I think, Ken something. He was in this Power Rangers cosplay group with this girl named Julia, who was cosplaying the Pink Ranger, and he was cosplaying the Yellow Ranger. He had a thing for her, and he made his romantic feelings known for to her, but she rejected him, and apparently he got all mad and he set her car on fire, and other cars got set on fire, and now he's in jail for the rest of his life, pretty much, for stalking, harassment, and basically vandalism, I think, in a way. So, guys, we can't let our assessment with women like take control of us, and we need to respect their space, not harass anyone, not stalk anyone, not touch anyone inappropriately, like kiss them or even walk up to them and give them a hug. We gotta respect their space. Now, I'll be honest. Yeah, I like women. I would love to get a hug from a woman. Honestly, who wouldn't? Especially a pretty woman. But we should at least ask them first, and maybe we can get their consent. But if they don't give you their consent, then you know what? We gotta respect that. You know, like Emiru. That guy who sexually assaulted Emiru. Honestly, he's a scumbag, and honestly, in my opinion, I think he should be in jail. Honestly, and for all of you out there who guy, women out there who have been sexually assaulted, like for real, I know there are some that have lied, like that DoorDash girl the DoorDash lady who basically, said that this guy sexually assaulted her, but when he was the one, but she was the one who just opened the door on him and walked into his house, which is basically illegal. DoorDashers, they're supposed to just drop the food off on the porch, the doorstep or whatever, and just leave. That's what they're supposed to do. Yeah. So to all you women who have been sexually assaulted, I am deeply sorry that that happened to you guys. You guys don't deserve to go through that. Like some of the woman who came out against James Franco, Harvey Weinstein, and Danny Masterson, and other people, you know, you know, I'm really sorry for you guys, and my condolences go to you guys, and hopefully you guys were able to move past it. No one in this world should be sexually assaulted at all, assaulted, harassed, stalked, or anything, you know. And sure, we all make mistakes, Sometimes we all end up doing things that we don't know what's wrong. Like me, like when I was in high school. But we can learn from these mistakes. And honestly, what I did back in high school, I learned from that. I'm a totally different person now, and I'm even a much better person now than I was when I was young. You know, we all make mistakes. We're all not perfect. We all do things. But the number one thing that I think we need to do is that learn from our mistakes, evolve from them, get past them, learn from them, be better than them, and do better things in life and be better people. Respect people's space, be kind to people, you know, respect them. If they give you a condolences to do something like be in a relationship, touch them or be close with them or something, then sure. But if they say no, then you gotta move. They say yes, sure. But if they don't consent, then you know what? We gotta you move past it. Never sexually assault anyone. Never stalk anyone. Never harass anyone. Give people their space. Women, not just women, but also men in general, and be respectful towards everyone and one another. You know, treat people with kindness, treat people with respect, and those who do these terrible things, they'll end up getting their comeuppance eventually. And that's pretty much all I gotta say. So basically, the moral of the story is this video and everything is give people respect, respect towards women, men, all types of genders, even transgender, but mostly women. I think women need respect. That's just my opinion. Because since they're the ones that seem to be dealing with all this kind of stuff, like harassment, sexual assault, and stuff like that. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think. If you learned something from this video and do you agree with my what I said, and remember to just be respectful towards women and people in general. You know, be kind and be respectful, and that's it. That's all I gotta say. So this is Karma 64 signing out, and take care, everyone.